just doing that now. That's grand. That seems to have done it now. There you go. Fantastic. Okay, let's start off with our tefillah. So I can share. All right. ריבון העולמים ואדוני אדונים, אב הרחמן והסליחות, מודים אנחנו לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, בקידה, בהשתחוויה, שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש, ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה, מה אנו ומה חיינו, אשר עשית עמנו חסד גדול כזה. על כן אנחנו מפילים תחנוננו לפניך, שתמחול ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו, ואל יהיו עוונותינו מבדילים בינינו לביניך, וכן יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולבבך, ותקשיב אוזניך לדברינו אלה, ותפתח לבבינו הערל בסודות תורתך, ויהיה לימודנו זה נחת רוח, לפני כיסא כבודך קרח ניחוח, ותאציל עלינו אור מקור נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו, שנוצצו ניצוצות עבודך הקדושים, אשר על ידם גלית דבריך אלה בעולם, וזכותם, וזכות אבותם, וזכות תורתם ותמימותם וקדושתם, יעמוד לנו לבל ניכשל בדברים אלו, ובזכותם תראה עינינו במה שאנו לומדים, כמאמר נעים זמירות ישראל, גל עיני וביטה נפלאות מתורתך, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה, יולרות צונים מפי, ויגר ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אמן, כן יהי רצון. Great. Now then, just going to get off here and go to this share. So we marked the spot, actually. We were in the middle of the Peticah last time. We started again. And this time we said we were going to look at it with the Or Baruch and the Or Shalom. All right? So I think that what we should do, let's get rid of all these yellow bits. Let's start again with the Peticah, and this time we'll be looking at the Or Baruch and the Or Shalom. All right? Because we did the Reshit Chochmah already. ולפיכך, גם בממחה החדש יצא מהמצח. So we're talking about the world of Atzilut. It's called the Memhe HaChadash. Okay, why is it called that? Because it corrects the original Memhe, which is the world of Nikudim, and it takes the bits from the Shvirat HaKelim and corrects them. Now, I was looking today, it was very fascinating, in Talmud Esses Svirot. I think it was a Chelek Yud Aleph or something. I don't know, like quite a long way ahead. It goes there into details about the Rishimot, which are left by the broken vessels, and the ability of where the Bechina Bet actually joins with these Rishimot and corrects them, and corrects the vessels. It's very interesting. I have to say I didn't quite understand it all, but I could see that one of the difficulties we're having here is, and one of the difficulties I think that Rabbi Ashlag had when he wrote the Peticah, was how much detail to put in. And sometimes there's too much detail and we can't understand it. And there's other times there's not enough detail to actually explain where all the elements are coming from. So I saw from the bit that I read that eventually we will have all the details and it will all fit into place. And at the moment, if we can just sort of get this overview and get some sort of sketch of how the world of Atzilut should be, I think we're doing very well. So the world of Atzilut comes forth from Metzach, we said was Keter, the Bechinat Keter, and Keter is the will to give. All right, so this is very interesting, because if you're only using the will to give and you're not using a will to receive, even if it's only for the sake of giving, okay, there is no possibility of any vessels breaking, because there's nothing to break in the will to give. Use the will to give for the sake of giving, and that's it. Okay, and that's in Kedusha. You could, I guess, say, well, there's the will to give for the sake of receiving, all right, and that would be called, for example, Torah Shelo Lishma, all right, and that, but Torah Shelo Lishma can certainly lead to Torah Lishma, all right. So at this point, we're dealing with only holiness in the world of Atzilut, so we're talking about giving for the sake of giving. And that's one of the aspects which ensures that there isn't the breaking of the vessels again. Because the basic underlying reality of the world of Atzilut is the desire to give. And nohagot gam ken shtei bechinot katnut v'gadlut. And it says here that there is two aspects, again, katnut and gadlut, kamo ben olam nikudim, like in the world of Nikudim. Now, in Katnut and Gadlut, in the world of Nikudim, we had Tzimtzum Bet, okay, all right, which used Bechina Aleph, and then we had Bet Aleph, and then we had Gadlut, which came about by the action of these big Rishimot below the tabor of Adam Kadmon, which were Bechina Daled Gimel, okay, and they were the ones who caused Tzimtzum Bet to go down, and they were the ones who ultimately caused also the breaking of the vessels, because although they supplied the great light, they didn't supply the Masach to go with it, and those vessels received for themselves alone. So we learnt already that Katnut and Gadlut here is not just Tzimtzum Bet and the relief of Tzimtzum Bet, it is the use of the first level of Ovyut according to the regular Seder, according to the regular organization. So that would be Keter, Bechina Shoresh, okay? And if you're going to include, which we should do, the aspect, the Rishimot of Hitlapshut, then you would say be Aleph Shoresh, okay? And Gadlut would be, again, these big Rishimot below the Tabor of Adam Kadmon. So Katnut refers to Bechina Aleph Shoresh, and Gadlut refers to the big vessels of Adam Kadmon, okay? Asher Techila Yotzeta Katnut. So first of all comes forth Katnut. Katnut is, like we said, Bechinat Keter. The Haim Lefia Ovyut Mugule Masach, according to the desire revealed in the Masach, Shikomat Zerampin Hitlapshut, Hamechuneh Hagat, V'komat Malchut the Ovyut Hanikret Nahi. And this is the level of Zerampin of Hitlapshut, which is called Chagat, and Komat Malchut of Ovyut, which is called Nahi. So you've got the Koma of Hitlapshut is the level of Ruach, okay, and it's called Chagat because of Tikkun Kavim, and Komat Malchut of Ovyut is called Nahi, which is the level of Nefesh, the light of Nefesh, but it's called these funny names, okay, because you have the right hand line, the left hand line, and the middle line. Now, we went into this last week to find out a little bit more about what these lines are, okay? And he said that the right-hand line is like all 10 sfirot of the level of Malchut, okay, of which the right-hand line is shining with the vessels of giving. No, it was all shining. The left-hand line is none of them are shining because the Malchut has gone up in every Sfira. And the middle line is we're going to do a Zivug on the will to give. Okay? Well, in which case, quite frankly, you could have said that about all the world, all the Rosh of Nikodim entirely. And, you know, I'm not quite sure why in the world of Atzilut he suddenly changes the names. Okay, so this is something that we just have to deal with at the moment. All right. אמנם כיוון שאין בבחינה א' רק בחינת התלבשות בלי עוביות, but since in the bechina aleph there's only the aspect of the rishimot of hitlapshut without any vessels oviut. Ein bakelim, it's got no vessels. That's true. Nimtza komat chagat beli kelim, so the level of ruach is without any vessels. So it joins with the vessels of oviut, which is shoresh, and it's the same as it is for that the zachar joins with the nekeva to bring about a zivug. V'koma zoni kret ubar, and this level is called ubar, and it's in the head of sag. All right, and what does it mean? It means that there's no more oviut than shoresh, which stays in the masach after which is left. What is left in the masach after his dakhut from the world of Nikudim. Okay, and this koma comes out and it's only the koma of Malchut. On the other hand, it says, Bepnimiuta, inside it, yesh bechinat heitata'a begenizo. It has got the Tzimtzum Aleph hidden away there, the aspect of Bechina Daled and Gimel hidden away there in the Rosh, okay? Vi Bechinat Heitata B'Metzach, that's those big vessels, big Rishimot, but it's hidden at the moment. Why? Because first we start with the katnut, and only then we do gadlut. And now once this sort of embryonic stage receives the zivug in the rosh of sag, it goes to its place. Okay? Kanal ba'ot nun daled. What is its place? Bechina aleph. And here in the Or Baruch it says, יש לשאול השאלה, איך מגיע לו עוביות לבחינה א'? Where does it get בחינה א' from? לא, אין לו עוביות לשורש. The only עוביות it's really got is שורש. המגיע לו מבחינת עצם המדרגה, because that's its level. מצד העירוב בחינה ד' מגיע לעתיק בחינה ד'. And if you're thinking about, well, gadlut, okay, then you'd get Bechina Daled, and Archampin Bechina Gimel, and so on and so forth. So how does Atik suddenly get Bechina Aleph? וגם שאינו משיג נשמה, בעת שעולה ליסו סבו תבונה, אבל where does he get it from? And we have to say that he gets it from the vessels of the Nikudim, which he takes to correct. Okay? So, as מקבל מוחין יניקה מעליון, שהם עוביות לבחינה א', מבחינת היתתה בנקבי עיניים, ועל ידי זה קונה כלים גם לחגת. Now it gets vessels also for the aspect of רוח, ומתפשטים החגת מתוך הנהי. And the level of רוח emanates inside nefesh, ויש לו קומה זעיר אנפין. So it also has komat zerampin. So how many komot do we have so far? We've got nefesh, okay, which is malchut, and we have bechina aleph, komat shoresh for komat bechina aleph. All right, the light of malchut and the light of ruach. That is what we've got. Now, I was reading this morning in Talmud Esesfirot, Chelek Daled, but he gave a beautiful, beautiful, here we are, explanation of the world of Nikodim and the world of Atzilut, which I thought was really helpful and relevant. So I want to just go to there a moment and do new share. And let me just find it for you. Oh, I forgot to do that. There we go, share. Okay, because I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful summary and a help to where we are. Now, where were we? Let me just find the place. Wrong place, not so far down. I'll get you the page, 1 minute. Page 64. It's page 64, right. Just get it. Get bigger. You can actually see something. That's 91, right. Wait a minute, have I got the right thing? Oh, no. I think I've got the wrong volume. Oh, it's the wrong volume. Sorry. I thought I had this. It says task 4. So I thought it was the right volume. It can't be the right volume. That's the world of Nikodim. That's not what we need at all. Sorry. I thought I had it. Let me just see if I've got it here. How irritating. No, I don't think I have. I apologise. It's just been labelled. So it says Task 4, Volume 6. So I didn't realise. I thought it was Task Volume 4. Okay, never mind. I'll get it ready for next time, Bezrat Hashem, because it's really worth reading. Basically what he says, if I can sort of summarise it in my own words, but it's never as good, let's just stop. Right. Basically what he said was, he said that every level of the world of Atzilut has all 10 sfirot, okay? And also the world of Nikodim, this is also true. You've got all 10 sfirot. But it's like a baby, like you've got a newborn baby, all right? It's very, very pertinent to Adam right now. You've got a newborn baby, and the baby has all its limbs, Baruch Hashem, okay? Everything, all right? But it can't yet use all of its limbs, all right? So the amount of light in the vessels, you've got lots of vessels, but little light, okay? So in other words, he says one needs to imagine Tzimtzum Bet, like actually applying in every single sphera, all right, and of you know that in each Partsur, for every Sfirah, it's itself included of 10 Sfirot. So in every single Sfirah, the Malchut has gone up to Bina in every single one. All right, so it's got lots and lots, it's got all 10 Sfirot are affected by Tzimtzum Bet. But it means that we've got lots of vessels, and the light in all of those 10 Sfirot is only Nefesh. All right, it's not like in one Sfirah you've got Nefesh, and then you've got Ruach, and then you've got Neshama, Chai, and Yechidah, which is what you've got in Adam Kadmon. No, he says in all of them you've only got the light of Nefesh. That was basically what he said, which I thought was kind of interesting. And that's what it's referring to. All right, I'm sorry I haven't got the original to share with you. I really thought I did. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. Oh, I've lost it. Here we are. Right. Okay, so let's go back now and start with your Shalom. Kuf Kaf Aleph. Here we are. בממהר חדש נוהגות גם כן שתי בחינות קטנות וגדלות. All right, so here I am at the bottom of the page. In קטנות וגדלות, אין פירושו צמצום ב' וצמצום א', okay? He says that in the issue of קטנות and גדלות does not mean here צמצום ב' and צמצום א', אלא קטנות הכוונה שמשתמש עם הרשימות שנמשכות ממעלה מכבוד אדם קדמון. But Katnut means he's using the rishimot which originate from above the tabor of Adam Kadmon. That is, from the Zakut of Ab Sag, which left Bet Aleph in Olam HaNikodim, and from the Zakut of Bet Aleph, from the world of Nikodim, Nisharu Aleph Shoresh, is left Aleph Shoresh, okay? וזה שכתוב, אשר תחילה יוצאת הקטנות, first of all comes forth קטנות, דהיינו לפי האוביות המגולה במסך, according to the desire which is left in the מסך, which is very very small, שקומת זרע אנפין התלבשות, וקומת מלכות האוביות. So you've got Aleph of התלבשות and or a nefesh for the malchut. It's all you've got. And Gadlut means that he uses the Rishimot which come from below the Tabor, which is of the Rishimot of Adam Kadmon. And that's 577. Sikum. Kadlut v'Gadlut einam morim al Tzimtzum Bet. Kadlut and Gadlut don't mean Tzimtzum Bet, although you have got Tzimtzum Bet in the world of Atzilut. But that's not the differentiation here. Both, as far as I'm aware, both Katnut and Gadlut have Tzimtzum Bet in the world of Atzilut. So here, Katnut does not mean that we're only using the vessels of giving, but Gadlut gam b'kelim de Kabbalah, and Gadlut that we're also using the vessels of receiving. I don't think at all really in Atzilut. It doesn't work the same way. It simply means where the Rishimot are coming from. The Rishimot come from above the Tabor are the Rishimot of Katnut, and the Rishimot which come from below the Tabor are the Rishimot of Gadlut. Okay? That's what he says. Komat Chagat B'li Keilim. So as we start off in Ibor, the aspect of Bechina Aleph, of Hitlapshut, the Zachar, hasn't got any vessels. Okay? V'mitlabeshet b'kelim denahi, and she uses the vessels of Yut. Okay? Well, that's normal. Hainu kevan she'en hitlapshut kelim, lachen hi mitlabeshet b'kelim shelo Yut. Since the aspect of the Hitlapshut, the Rishima of the Zachar, hasn't got any vessels, it uses the vessels of Oviyut. Klomar, Kavisha or Anahi me'ir b'kelim de Keta Chochma Bina, Gamachakbat mitlabshim b'oto makom. So just as the light of Nefesh is shining in the vessels of Keter, Okay, we're just going to use, all right, the basics here. When we understand it's tikkun kavim. Gam hagat mitlabshim b'oto makom. Also, the light of ruach is clothed in the same place. V'zeh domeh lama shlamanu b'partzuf ta'amim d'sag. Okay, and this is just like we learnt in that partzuf of the ta'amim of sag, for example. Sheyesh lo gimel hitlabshut b'gufo. That it also uses the gimel of hitlabshut in its rosh and in its body. Hagam shegufo bet oviut, even though its body is bet oviut, the rishimo of hitlabshut uses the oviut in order to have vessels. Ela kevan shagimel hitlabshut hitlabsha bekelim de bet oviut, but since the gimel of hitlabshut in sag was clothed in vessels of bet oviut, and the oviut yesh hitpashtut beguf, and since the oviut could emanate into the body, al ken gam hitlabshut hitpashta beguf. Therefore, the hitlabshut would have emanated to the body if the and it did, but not below the tabor. That's right. Okay, it did emanate to the body, but not below the tabor. So it does emanate to the body. It's just the same thing here. The hitlabshut emanates into the vessels of the body which belong to the oviut, which belong to the female. Here the oviut is bechinat shoresh, but never mind. Whereas in the rosh there aren't any particular. Rosh is not defined vessels in the sense that the Rosh, you can't distinguish between the Or Pnimi and the Or Mekif in the Rosh. You can't distinguish in the Rosh between what actually is going to go into the vessels and what's going to stay out. All right? So in the Rosh. But you can know that when it's in the body. All right, let's go here. So Rav Gottlieb adds, there is the opposite arrangement with vessels and lights. If you've only got the light of nefesh, it's going to shine in the vessel of keter. Mitzad tikkun kavim, amsagim mishtalshim. Because of the tikkun kavim, so we talk in threes. V'lachen o'anahi me'ir bekelim dekahab. Therefore, the light of nahi is shining in the vessels of keter chochma bina. V'kevan le'or hachagat en kelim, and since the light of the zahar, the rishimot of the zahar, hasn't got any vessels, kurak b'chinat hitlabshut, okay, it's only an aspect of hitlabshut, which is a type of memory from the light that there was, but it can't do a masach and or chozer, v'lachen tzrich or hachagat nitlabesh b'kelim shbehem mitlabesh or nahi. So the light of hagat needs to be clothed in the vessels which are also clothing the light of nefesh, which is in the same vessels of Keter Chochma Bina, of Keter. So that's basically the same idea that we've had in Ayin Bet, we've had it in Samach Gimel, okay, that the Bechina of Hitlapshut uses the vessels of Oviut in order to do anything, okay? Everybody okay there? Devorah, are you okay at all?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just, getting acquainted with this all. So it's
That's
good for me.
great.
I figure I'll go over it again. So
Yeah, we're going to
just,
go over it.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Sikum, summary. רצונו להגיד שבאותם כלים דגוף שבהם מתפשט אור נהי, that in those very same vessels of the body of Atzilut, in which is emanating the light of Nefesh, the Hainu Kahab de Guf, that is Keter of the Guf, Sham gam mitpashet or Hagat. so also emanates the light of Ruach. Ki Ruach ulemase aleph the hitlapshut. For the light of Chachagat is be'etzem aleph of hitlapshut. She'eino ovyut me'atzmo. It's got no ovyut of itself. Elo muchach litlabesh bekelim de ovyut. But it must use the vessels of ovyut. Umadgish shekolam medubal dafka bekelim de guf. And this emphasizes that what we're talking about is vessels of the guf. Ki barosh ein kelim. Because in the rosh there isn't any vessels. V'dechora kasher. Okay. So now Rabbi Gottlieb is like saying, wait a minute, I don't understand something, he says. Ki be'ovyut d'shoresh ein bichlal zivug haka'ah. Can you say in the ovyut of shoresh, is there a zivug haka'ah? Okay, what does zivug haka'ah mean? That we give back the light. I think they can say that. I don't see why you can't. Even if what you're talking about is ovyut d'shoresh. Because if you can't give for the sake of giving, you just give everything back. In bechina aleph einit pashtut beguf, ba'ovyut d'shoresh alachat kama v'kama. If in bechina aleph there isn't any emanation to the body, in ovyut of shoresh, then there must be even more not emanation to the body. Now, that's a good point, okay? Do you remember one of the problems of the world of Nikudim was Bechina Aleph of ovyut, okay? And so the Zayin Tachtonot of Nikudim weren't really made by the Bechina Aleph because it didn't emanate to the body. And they really were formed because of the Bechina Daled, forcing them, basically. And that's why they broke. And so even more so, he says, well, if you've got ovyut of shoresh, then you haven't got any body at all. Now that's a good point. Where are you going to get a body from if you're using an ovyut of shoresh? Midach Gisa, on the other hand, Ari HaKadosh Shomer, the Holy Ari says, Mi psari echezeh Eloha, from my flesh I will see God. Shakoma de nefesh hu komat ibor, that the koma of nefesh is the level of the ibor. Ukshenachnu mistaklim al ubar, and when we look at the ubar, imurak b'koch v'lo b'fol, is he just a potential and not actual? Well, yes and no, I would say. For certain, he is actual inside his mother's belly. And he's even got a body. On the other hand, has he got independent existence? Is he like a real body? The answer is no, in the sense not till he's born. So what he says we need to say, he says, because the aspect of the Rishimot below the Tabor are hidden there in the Rosh of Sag also, even though they're in Genizo, they give it enough oomph, ovyut, okay? Therefore, that you can say there is a zivug haka'ah, all right? Mebchina zo shetzich lakot b'ovyuto, that we need to, that there's a real difference of opinion. The light comes, it wants to go in. The vessel says no, and it's only going to give for the sake of giving. Right now, it doesn't yet have an aspect of receiving for the sake of giving. Okay, nevertheless, it's sufficient to define itself as an entity which is there, and to nullify itself to the higher one. So it has got something there. It is real. And because it's in the aspect of the Rosh, it can see from one end of the world to the other. It sees what its mother sees. נאמר עוד בשיעור, we further said in the shiur, מה שאין כן בראש כלל אין כלים, whereas in the rosh there isn't any vessels. What does it mean? רוצה להביא ראייה שהמדובר כאן הוא על התלבשות בכלים דגוף דווקא, כי בראש אין כלל כלים. So what Rav Baruch Shalom Ashlag is talking about, he's saying, look, when we're talking about hitlapshut with the ruach into the nefesh, you have to say that it's in the guf, because in the rosh you haven't really got actual vessels. Im kein ma sheyach lo ma shachagat hitlapshu b'toch hanahi. What does it mean to say that the aspect of ruach will be clothed inside nefesh? In the head there isn't actually halbasha, there isn't actually clothing. Well, you can look at it one way or the other. On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, the rosh is the potential of what comes forth in the body. So I think one could say yes. We need to know that there's a general problem here. Because the Baal Sulam let go of the language we were using with Adam Kadmon. Because there he used the language of Zivug Dahaka'ah, an emanation of the spiritual entity into a head aspect, a middle aspect, and an end aspect. Tahaya Seder B'Kol Patzuf, and this was the organization of every spiritual entity. And now he's using different language, but it might be describing to some extent the same processes. Ibor, which belongs in the head, Yinika, nursing, and finally Mochin. And Rav Baruch Shalom Ashlag asked himself these questions in different places. In Ibor v'Yinika, is there a head aspect and a body aspect? And the essence of his question was, Dinei rosh v'guf hem poal hem poel, am I in the right place? Gosh. Hem poel Nikreit Metzach v'Galgalta. No, I'm not in the right place. I'm Poel. 1 second. Oh, Adam's disappeared. Poel Yotzei Zivug Taka'ah. Sorry. There's functions which come forth of Zivug Haka'ah. ובאים התחתון נמצא במצב שמתבטל לעליון. Oh, here we are. And if the lower one is found in a state where he's nullified to the higher one, can he do a zivug taka'ah? Who's doing the zivug taka'ah? Is it him, or is it the mother, or is it the rosh of sag? Okay. Where does he get a rosh from? Where does he get a guf from? Okay. So, all these are interesting questions. On the other hand, in the physical sense, we certainly see that there's a head and a body also in the embryo. So there does seem to be a head and a body. Because he says that the clothing is in the ovute. And one can really only see that in the body and not in the rosh. Because in the rosh there's no actual hitlapshut in the vessels. And Rabbi Baruch brings as his proof the tamim of sag. That when they emanate to the body, within the bet of oviyut is included the gimel of hitlapshut. It was because of that they couldn't go below the tabor of Adam Kadmon. So let's just figure out what's the problem here. What's the problem that Rabbi Baruch is trying to deal with, that Rabbi Gottlieb is trying to deal with? What's the problem that we're worried about? We're trying to understand what the Baal Sulam has said, okay? We're trying to understand that he said that the vessels of, that the lights of the Zachar, of the Rishimot of Hagat, use the vessels of the Ovyut of the Nekeva, which is Bechinat Shoresh, for Hitlapshut. And they're kind of wondering about this because they say, listen, in the Rosh, it's not yet defined, okay? But is there an emanation to the body or not? And we're really dealing with a Ovyut, which is so weak that it doesn't use any vessels of receiving at all. It only uses giving for the sake of giving. So how can you say there is a body there? And they're trying to look at an actual embryo in its mother's tummy and say, well, even in the physical world, it does have a body, even though it's part of its mum. How do we deal with this? One answer that was offered so far was, well, you've got the Hey Tata'ah hidden in the Bechina Shoresh. You've got those big Rishimot lying there hidden away. Maybe they are the ones which help give strength to the Bechina Shoresh and allow it to emanate to the body. Okay, that's the solution so far. So they're not worried about the lights of the Hitlapshut using the vessels of the Ovyut. They say that's okay. We've seen that before. We've seen that in Ayin Bet. We've seen that in the Ta'amim. That's quite normal. That's nothing new. But what we are concerned about is there a Rosh and is there a Guf? Rosh we can understand. Rosh we see that there is. But how do you get a Guf when all you've got is Bechinat Shoresh? So he comes to the conclusion that there is a head and there is a body. But not in the sort of simple literal meaning that we would take the idea of an embryo. That the lower one is nullified and nothing more. And actually we're going to see further on שהפרצוף הראשון לאצילות, פרצוף עתיק, בתחילה יוצא בראש השג. That the first partzuf of Atzilut, which is called partzuf atik, at the beginning comes forth in the head of Sag, al pi ovyut shel aleph shoresh, according to the ovyut of aleph shoresh. Okay, all right, that we understand. V'achar kach yored limkomo, and then it goes down to its place. All right, that seems to be into a body. V'sham mitgale bimkomo aleph shoresh, and there is manifest in its place as aleph shoresh. V'kan nireh shegam bimkomo yesh bechinat ibur, and it says, well, also in its place there's the aspect of ibur, aleph shoresh. Ve'ech ze yitachen? How is this possible? Halohem tarte desitris, it's contradicting itself. The whole aspect of Ibor is that it nullified to the higher one. Okay, and therefore it means that it has to be only in the Rosh of Sag and not in its own place. And the answer is we're not talking about places here. But what he's talking about is desires. When the lower one is using the ovyut of shoresh, which is the ovyut of only giving, okay, the ovyut of giving for the sake of giving, the ovyut of keter, And the obvious of Keter is only aspect of giving alone. Umevatel et kol ratzon lekabel, nullifies its entire will to receive, because it's only obvious of shoresh. Then if kanjem mit batel elyon, that means it's nullified to the higher one. Bevchinat batel ratzoncha mipnei ratzono, as it says in Pirkei Avot, nullify your will before his will. Zoi bevchinat nefesh, that's the aspect of nefesh. Melashon nefisha, from like, I just let go. I don't have a will of my own. I let go. I just let what God wants me to do. The lower one does not use at all his own essence, which is his will to receive. Simply nullifies himself to the higher one, and that's it. And all the work that the lower one does is first done in the higher one. That the higher one teaches the way for the lower one how to work. Like, for example, between a rabbi and his talmid, between a rav and his talmid, between the rav and his student, between a great tzaddik and the chosid. Okay? Only subsequently the lower one needs to start working on his own. At the beginning, the work is done in the shoresh, in the obvious of the elyon. And it's not only because the lower one is nullified to the higher one, but because all the work needs to be first in the higher one. Only subsequently can it go to its own place and its own level. And then he does his own work of nullifying his own will to receive for himself. Humph. Okay, so far so good. וצריכים להבין שהעבור של התיקון של עולם התיקון הוא עניין שלושה קווים. And we need to understand that, I'm not quite sure what he means by the vort here, some Yiddish expression, of the tikkun of the world of tikkun is the issue of the three lines. ולכן כל מדרגה מופיע בצורה משולשת. Every single stage appears in this triple form. זו מטעם שהנברא עשוי משני הפכים תמיד. And this is because the created being is made from two opposite desires constantly, always. Hashpa'a v'kabbalah, giving and receiving. Neshama v'guf, soul and body. V'tzorich limtzot shvil hazahav beinehem, and we need to find the golden mean between them. V'zeh nikra kav emtze'i, and this is called the middle line. U'ba'olam hanikudim lo haya shlosha kavim. And in the Olam HaNikudim, they didn't come for three lines. But they received the left-hand line, which is the vessels of receiving, which is the light of Chokhmah, in the most crazy way, and not in a normal way. And therefore they broke. But in the world of Atzilut, they integrate the right with the left. The will to give with the will to receive. The light of giving with the light of receiving. And this way, the spiritual stage can stay forever. Wow. That's really interesting. I thought that was beautiful. We've got 3 more minutes. Let's do one more bit if you guys have got the koach. V'koma zo nikwet ubal. This level is called the ibor, ubal, the fetus. Shepewusho she'ein sham ela shiur ovyut de shoresh. It's only got the level of ovyut of shoresh. Koma yotzet sham ruach komat malchut. And the level which comes forth is only the level of malchut, which gives you the light of nefesh. בעולם האצילות, כל מדרגה מוכרחה לעבור 3 מצבים. In the world of Atzilut, every spiritual stage needs to go through 3 states. Ibor, Yinika, Umochin. Ibor is embryo, Yinika is nursing, Mochin is consciousness. Ibor nikret Nahi, Yinika nikret Chagat, Mochin nikreim Chabad. ונשאלת השאלה, and the question is asked, הלא למדנו כלל שבכל מדרגה מוכרחות להיות 10 ספירות. Wait a minute. We learned a general principle that every single stage has to have 10 ספירות. איך אנו אומרים שאיבור נקראת נהי בלבד? How do we say that איבור has only got נהי? ועוד יש לשאול אם מושג נהי מצביע על 3 אורות או על אור אחד. And does Nahi talk about 3 lights or 1 light? אלא ביאורם של הדברים הוא כך. But the explanation of these matters is this. Ovyut the shoresh דומה לכלי הכתר. The ovyut of shoresh is like the vessel of keter. היינו כמו שכתר אינו מקבל, אלא שרצונו להשפיע, just as keter doesn't receive but his will is to give. חלקם התחתון שהיא מלכות הנקראת רצון לקבל, אינה יכולה לקבל על מנת להשפיע דבר, אלא להשפיע על מנת להשפיע בלבד. So since Keter doesn't receive but only wants to be giving, so the lower one, which is Malchut, which is basic essence is the will to receive, cannot receive for the sake of giving even, but can only give for the sake of giving. וזה הפירוש על אוביות השורש יכולה מלכות לכוון על מנת להשפיע. So on the ovyut of shoresh, the Malchut is able to intend giving for the sake of giving. And since we're talking here about the level of Ibor, which is the ovyut of shoresh, צריך להגיד שמדבר אודות מלכות שנקראת רצון לקבל על מנת לקבל, ומלכות זו מתגברת על עצמה, שלא לקבל דבר, אלא להשפיע בלבד. So we're talking really about the Malchut, and its real essence of the Malchut is its desire to receive. That's the desire to receive. In previous spiritual stages, it received for the sake of giving. Now it's deciding, now it's overcoming its own desire to receive, and it says, I'm not going to receive anything. I'm only going to be giving. Zenikra ubal. You let go completely of your will to receive. You let go of it totally. I'm not going to receive anything. I'm just going to give. That's it. I'm interested in giving only. Zenikra ubal. I mean, we all know this situation. Shadain davuk be'elyon. This is the embryo is still united with the higher one. Ve'eno mitziut b'fnei atzmo. But it doesn't have any reality of itself, meaning it can't use any of its own desires to receive, not even for the sake of giving. And the 10 sfirot, which are called Ibor, come forth in the Koma of Nahi, which is Or Nefesh, Tikun Kavin Nahi, which are called from the aspect of the Tikun Kavin Nahi. Since from the aspect of Tikun Kavim, there needs to be in every spiritual stage 3 aspects. I think we better stop here. Okay. And we'll start again there next week. Okay. Great. Well done, everybody. Hope you're hanging in there. I
Yes,
am, just
we're
about.
hanging in. Yes.
I mean, part of it,
No,
when you
it's not.
start,
It's just bits, bits and pieces. For me, it's just bits and pieces. I'm sure Adam has a fuller understanding, but yeah, I
well,
mean,
listen, I have a thorough understanding. I have a lot of questions about it. Like the question that he asked about, is there a Roshan, is there a Guf, and where does the Guf come from? I like the explanation that it comes because you've got a heavier Rishimot actually hidden away in there. But I really, really like how he shows that this is so much connected with our work, like letting go of the will to receive completely and just thinking about how we can give. That is totally, totally us. And it's also about bitul. It's also about, when you read Torah and mitzvot, you learn Torah and mitzvot. When you do, you just got to let go. You've got to let go of your own will to receive and just do what you need to do. And that's also, its root is here. This is where it comes from. So I think there's a lot here which is difficult language, but it does speak to us. So that's good.
yes, little by little, for me anyway. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's the
yeah,
same for me
it's
too.
kind of like glimmerings of like, okay, I get that, but this I totally don't know what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
This I
yeah.
kind of understand. This I don't. It's all very patchy, I guess.
It's still very patchy for me as well, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I have to say, honestly, I've got further this time than I've ever got before. I mean, usually with the Peticah at this point, everybody's given up. Most people, by the way, give up at this point. They give up the Peticah at this point because they say it's impossible. But it isn't impossible so long as we've got
No.
the Reshit Chochmah, we've got the Or Shalom, we've got a lot of help which
Yeah.
didn't exist in the past. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, generally, I find if you just, unless it is totally nonsense, whatever it is you're trying to figure out, it's incorrect or something like that, that
Yeah.
if you just allow yourself kind of like not
Yes.
trust yourself, but just give yourself time. And I mean, if it's meant to, Hashem means you to understand it. I mean, like which he does, obviously, for everybody, but just gradually let it kind of soak in, That's, I don't
I
know,
think you're
that's my
absolutely right. I mean,
experience.
yeah,
Just
absolutely right.
keep
Yeah,
at it. Just don't get in a panic or impatient or whatever. Just let it flow.
that, that's
Yeah.
right.
Soaking
That,
in a hot tub or something. Just
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
keep at it. Yeah.
Just keep at it.
That's
Exactly. I think
yeah.
you're absolutely right, and that's very much the way I learned also. When I was just starting, I didn't have I had the Or Shalom, but I didn't have the Reshit Chochmah. I didn't have the Harot Biorim. I didn't have the Beit Midrash. I just had what there was, the Pticha, and I said okay, and I just kept reading it and just kept hanging in there with it, and eventually what looks like Chinese begin to make sense. You
Right.
begin to understand words here and there. It
Well,
begins
it
to make
certainly
sense.
helps being able to read like Rabbi Gottlieb's commentaries and
Yes, yeah.
that I mean and it's that makes a big difference. And you think, how do people ever understand this without these
Well,
commentaries?
he learnt directly from Rabbi Baruch Shalom.
Yeah, that makes a
I think
difference.
he was involved in the organization of the Or Shalom at the beginning also. Um,
Now he was
he,
really young when he got started in this, is what I
yeah,
read.
I mean, he was very
Like
young.
like a teenager or something,
Yeah,
early
yeah.
20s or something. Yeah.
That's right. He was only 14 when he first was in Rabbi Baruch Shalom's yeshiva, so in Beit
Yeah.
Midrash. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's been around it a long time, and he really became like a chevuta for Rav Baruch Shalom, despite the discrepancy in years, and he so he really knows it inside out. He learnt it directly. When you learn it directly, then you can ask all the questions you want to ask.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I think it's great the amount of work put in here to help us. I think it's fantastic. So I think
Yeah.
we Baruch Hashem, we're good. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah, well, I do find I've been able to go back over some of the stuff because there's been new translations come out. I mean, more work like
Yeah.
Avram Lowenthal's work, and I've been able to go back over some of that, and it's like, okay, I get this. I get these are little, it's really helped. Like I
Right.
can go through the review much faster than going through
Right. Absolutely.
yeah. And it's like understand part of it because I've heard it already, then I have more things like, okay, I need to pay attention to this, right? This is what I
Right.
need to, yeah. So good. Anyway, so I appreciate your teaching and
Bless you.
your
Thank you, Deborah.
patience to keep going, even though you're kind of like sitting there
No,
like
it's
bumps
fine.
on a pickle, bumps on a pickle. We don't have anything much to say.
That's
Yeah.
okay. It's the way I
Yeah.
learnt as well. I just learnt by soaking it in at the beginning without really
Yeah.
having much idea of what of anything. That's the first. You have to do it that way. I think there's no other
Yeah.
way. I think it's
Because
great.
it's so totally not anything you've been, at least not me. I've never been exposed to this kind
Right.
of whatever it is, thinking, teach, whatever, the symbolism and everything. Yeah, it's new.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very different.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that Rabbi Gottlieb is coming to Tzfat in 4 weeks' time, I think, B'Shalach, and he's going to be giving a Shabbat in. What a joy it would be one time, if you and Adam would be able to be here, and we could all go together and be at the Beit Midrash, and I'd introduce you both.
That
That'd
would
be
be a
brilliant.
miracle, wouldn't it? If we could
It really would
put
be a
the,
miracle.
well,
Yeah,
there's just a sham. We can
yeah,
think positively about these things. Yeah,
yeah. Bezrat
that's very
Hashem.
good. What I would like be if I could understand him without a translator.
Yeah, I was talking to Adam the other day about that. Um, he feels that really it's worth learning the Hebrew as much as you
Yeah,
can. Yeah,
well,
he
that's
said,
true, but it's it's just very. It feels like a long climb up the hill. When you're learning, it's like they aren't talking about stuff I'm interested in. I've known that for a long time.
yeah,
Learning the language when you're learning about, meet me at the restaurant. It's not quite the same motivation. You're studying
no,
Hebrew.
I never
You
learned.
understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, you want to
You
learn
want to
you want to
learn
learn
stuff
language
that's
using.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Have you got the Hebrew of Maraglan Shama and Tapestry? Because you've got Tapestry of the Soul, and I did Maraglan Shama pretty well identical. So Maraglan Shama is the Hebrew, and
Hmm.
Tapestry is the English, and people are using that to get their language going for the work of
Yeah.
Rabbi
Okay.
Eshlag. So I'm
No,
not
I.
sure. I'm not
I
sure if it's available at the moment on Amazon. But if it isn't, let me know, and I will. I can send you one from the warehouse in America if you want.
Okay, I'll check and see then. Yeah, thanks for that's a good idea.
It is because that way, like you said, learning, about how to have a cup of coffee in Israel is not really what's interesting. What's interesting to you is how to get the language of Rabbi Ashlag, and the easiest way, I think, honestly, is using tapestry because
That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
all the quotations that are in tapestry, and it's all excerpts. The whole thing is
Hmm.
excerpts from Rabbi Ashlag's writings, is translate my translation of the Hebrew, and it's side by side. You could
Mm-hmm.
actually read one paragraph in one, read it in the other, and you'll get it. You'll get the language.
Yeah, because I do find I pick up most of my Hebrew from shiurim, especially where they use the Hebrew in the shiur and they mix it
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
That's much easier as you're using it and it's something you want to know. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a good idea. Because I just find I get started and then like we don't have any where we are. We don't actually where we are. We don't have anybody teaching classes in Hebrew, which is kind of weird. Place that I know of. I had friends who tried to find somebody to do it. You couldn't get anybody to find. Anyway, it's kind of weird. Our community,
Right.
there doesn't seem to be a here Hebrew class. I mean, if you were in elementary school, you could go up to the day school and
I
whatever.
mean,
But yeah,
the way I learned classical Hebrew, like, was literally with a Chumash. Like, I had the
yeah.
Sonsino Bible, whatever it called it in those days, and I had the Sonsino edition, which I thought was brilliant. And I would read the Parshat Shavua
Yeah,
on the Hebrew, and I'd read the English, and I'd put two together, and that's how I learned.
yeah. It's kind of what my husband does. I actually took Hebrew in university. It didn't really not using it regularly. It's
I
hard to
also, I
get it
mean,
to stick. It doesn't stick, Yeah, it's
well,
getting it to
I also
stick.
took like classical Hebrew in England. They in my day they had A levels. You had O levels, which
Mm,
you took at the age of 16, which was kind of like what everybody calls graduation now. Okay, we took those at the age of 16, and that was in all the subjects, like 8 or 10 subjects or something. But
hmm
then you chose, for those people who stayed on at school, in those days it wasn't compulsory, you stayed on an extra 2 years if you wanted to go to university, and you took, maybe 3 subjects. Um, and I did maths, physics, and biology or something. I can't remember now. To get to medical school, I went to medical school. I suppose it must have been chemistry. I was terrible at chemistry, but I did it maths, physics, and chemistry, and got to medical school. But I on the side, because I liked it, I did classical Hebrew A level as well, like university level a classical Hebrew, which I enjoyed very much. That was just me. So I've always had a love for classical Hebrew.
See, that is a great advantage when if you like the the grammar and you like and it. My
Yeah,
problem is it doesn't stick. I have a hard time. It doesn't
you,
stay
you
there unless
well,
I can use it. If I can use it, things will stay. But just memorizing, I'm not good at
um,
that.
does it stick? Difficulty from getting it to stick.
Yeah, that's
I
but
read a
just
lot.
using it. That's what makes it stick for me. For me, that's what
Yeah.
makes it
Okay,
stick.
so
Yeah.
one thing was I read a lot.
hmm
Like I said, Parshat Shavua, Haftorahs, everything. I read it. Okay,
hmm
and and that was the most important thing. And the other thing that I did was when I got to Israel and I found that everybody people don't speak in classical Hebrew,
No,
um,
no, modern Hebrew. Yeah,
modern
because we
Hebrew.
we do flims or
It's not it's not
we
very different. It's very easy.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
So what I
yeah
did was I went to the children's library, okay, and I took out all the children's stories, which I know in English anyhow. Okay,
hmm
like Jack and
hmm
Jill, and all the fairy tales in English. You get them
right.
all written out in Hebrew. Just read them in Hebrew. You get it. And now, quite honestly, I can read. I read for pleasure in Hebrew. Like I
Mm,
read, if I wanted to read Harry Potter, it doesn't make any difference to me whether it's in English or Hebrew. I can read it in either language and enjoy it just as
it's
much.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and again,
That's good.
I didn't learn that when I was young. I learned it when I was older. And I'm still learning. And you're right, it is a kind of exponential curve, or it's a slow curve, whatever. The beginning is steep, but you soon, if you just get enough vocabulary, it begins to even out, and it gets to be a pleasure.
Mm, sure.
And I've
Yeah.
still got a dictionary by my desk, and every so often I come across a word which I think I don't know what that means, and I look it up.
Yeah. Well, even in
Okay,
English, it's that way, right? Look it up
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah,
look it
even
up.
your,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thanks so much, Yadida. Have a great
Yeah, so
week.
yeah, I can easily send you a Hebrew version of Tapestry if you're interested.
Yeah, I'll look. Yeah, let me see if I can get it on Amazon, and then if not, I'll.
All right,
That'd
I
be
think
easier. That's the easiest for both of
that's the
us,
easier thing.
probably.
Otherwise, I can send it to
Yeah.
you from the web thing. It's not difficult.
All right.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
All right. I'll look into that. And
That's
so thank you
grand.
for
Okay.
testing it. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that.
Great. That's fabulous.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good week.
And you. Okay.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye-bye. You too.
Bye.